All right, so celebrating African-American history in the month of February is something that dates back to 1926 when a historian declared a week-long observance, and that was then expanded to a month, an entire month, in 1976 under then President Gerald Ford. Well, now it's nearly 40 years later, and it is hard to think of anyone more associated with Black History Month than this man you see behind us, Martin Luther King Jr.
In the mid-1950s, King, then a young preacher, led a successful drive to desegregate public buses in Montgomery, Alabama. From there, his influence only grew as he organized nonviolent protests against inequality, culminating in his famous I Have a Dream speech in August 1963.
Yes, and VOA marked the 50th anniversary of that speech with a 2013 documentary. Our own Lisa Vohra was a key producer of the film, and she created this video that you're about to see to reflect back on King and the struggle he represents.
To keep the white and the black separate.
Oh, that was frightening when we heard the cars coming down the road, and there were 3 carloads of Ku Klux Klan members.
Can we have somebody take somebody to a doctor?
Racism was the order of the day.
White America is denying us our freedom.
Being ignored, being called names.
His efforts to prevent 2 Negroes.
Your father has embodied everything that was wrong with America.
He said in his inaugural speech,
Segregation now, segregation tomorrow.
segregation forever.
In the middle of the night, you hear the crash.
Different restrooms, different facilities.
Whites were privileged, blacks were underprivileged.
Your daddy can't vote. Your daddy can't vote.
No social power, no political power. We were like invisible people.
I grew up in rural Alabama, about 50 miles from Montgomery. And growing up there, I saw segregation and racial discrimination. I tasted the bitter fruits of racism.
If you were in the downtown area with your family members and you saw a white family member coming on the same sidewalk as you, the blacks would have to step off the sidewalk and allow them to pass by.
Because if you didn't, it could be considered disrespectful, and they might kick you, beat you, or put you in jail.
I met Dr. Martin Luther King in 1958, 18 years old. To meet him, to meet Dr. King, to be in his presence was so unbelievable, so unreal.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation.
The first few lines of such oratory will wake you up. It's beauty, it's poetic beauty.
Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time.
It was just exhilarating. You had so much energy and soul. You was proud to be there. And then to stand there and hear Martin Luther King speak and see grown men crying as Martin Luther King spoke.
Free at last, free at last. Thank God Almighty, we are free at last.
That afternoon, President Kennedy invited us back down to the White House. He stood in the door of the Oval Office and he greeted each one of us. We made a lot of progress. We've come a distance.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed.
Thank you to Lisa Vohra for that look back. You can see the entire documentary and select interviews on our website, voanews.com. by typing VOA King Legacy Marching Forward in your favorite search engines.
Right, and now speaking of the King legacy, close to our headquarters here, a building is under construction where Dr. King will feature prominently. Now this is the Smithsonian National Museum of African American History and Culture, which is set to open to the public next year.
Take a look at this video we shot. It's winter here in Washington, but the building's main structure is pretty far along. As you can see, it's close to the Washington Monument. So right in the heart of the city's tourist attractions, the Smithsonian says the building itself is inspired by a crown form popular in the art and architecture of the Yoruba people, a West African ethnic group.
Right, in addition to its exhibitions, the museum is slated to host ceremonies and performances. So if you guys are planning a trip to the U.S. next year, you might want to check it out.